99X. It's the Morning X. Barnes and Leslie. Fram, you into holistic medicine?
Absolutely. Lanny and I believe in it 1,000%.
Yeah, you get the people who are really like super against it, or well, I'm not going to do that voodoo.
No, it's not.
So please meet Dr. Taz. Hello, Dr. Taz.
Hello. So excited to be here.
A pioneer in the holistic and integrative medicine game. Do I say that right? Integrative?
You got it. Integrative.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm here nor there. I don't really have an opinion either way because I know what I know, right? I go to a regular doctor all of my life, and that's what I know. But I have been dabbling in, I guess you would say holistic, just here and there.
Right.
But that's your thing. You're like the leading source of it.
Oh my gosh. It accidentally became my thing, but I'm so passionate about it. And I want to redefine it, really, because that's exactly, I have so many stories about people thinking that, I think bankers asked my husband if I was swinging chickens above my head, before I started my practice. And the poor guy had to defend what I was doing. But, holistic just means encompassing the whole body. It doesn't mean that we're out back, making potions and practicing witchcraft. It's just really that we address the whole body. And that means everything from the food you eat to how you move to how you sleep, your mind, your body, your emotions, all of it. And at the end of the day, that's what gets people better. So I'm so passionate about it. And I'm really, really excited to see people latching onto this term and embracing it rather than being like, oh my God, stay away. This is weird,
I totally embrace it because normally when you go to the doctor with something, they want to give you a pill,
right?
Just to, amp the symptoms. But for what you do, it really is deeper. And there were a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. Well, first of all, Barnes, I don't know if you knew this or not, but Dr. Taz wrote the best menopause book ever called The Hormone Shift.
I need the book What to Do When the Hormones Shift. Can you write that?
All men do. And they've been asking for it for sure.
So let's get into women in this segment and men in the next. But I think men, you would get a lot from hearing whatever the hell's about to happen here because we need to figure it out.
Well, there's so many phases of menopause, and I wish I had known, Dr. Taz, when I went through it, some of the things that you could be doing leading up to premenopausal or menopausal, which I didn't know about. I didn't educate myself. So what are some of those things that you can do before you actually get into hell?
Well, definitely. And I think one of the things we really want to establish for all women listening out there is that this hormone journey should start early. Don't wait till you're 50 or 55 and in the throes of it and feeling miserable and thinking you're going insane. Actually, perimenopause is the stage right before menopause. That can start as early as 35, and it can last all the way into your early 50s. And what's happening there is your hormones are shifting, things like progesterone are dropping. And so the more proactive you can be, then you can really make a difference in what's happening with your overall hormones. So things like, to answer your question, like your diet matters, what you're eating, and that influences what your hormones are doing. Your gut health is such a big concept in other systems of medicine, but it plays such a huge role in hormone health. And I think it's the biggest miss that we have conventionally when we talk about hormones, because there's such a connection between the gut and your hormones. So that's a big one. Nutrients, that's another one. So there's so much stress, sleep. I could go on forever, but there's so many facets to hormone balance that we need to be thinking about before we just say, okay, I'm aging, I'm old, there's nothing I can do, and you throw your hands up in the air.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the age, too, because I do know a lot of women that start to experience things in their late 30s. But you actually teamed up with Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop for a 30-day plan for balancing hormones. How did that come together?
Well, Gwyneth and I have worked together on a couple of different projects over the years. I've been in the space for a while, and so we've collaborated, whether it's a conference or other books. And we were just having a conversation about this phase of life that we are actually both in and how there just wasn't really a holistic plan for it, right? There's a lot of noise in the space. There are a lot of people talking about it now, which is great. But there wasn't really a strategic plan for women, like start here, and then when does hormone replacement therapy come into the picture? When does it not? So that conversation we did for her podcast just did so well that we decided it was worth a book. So that's how it all began.
How do you women, is there some sign that if someone listening right now that might be 35
Yeah.
When blank happens, hey, you might want to check under the hood.
Definitely. I mean, I think the minute your cycles get wonky, that's a great early sign. Like they're too heavy, they're too early, they're too frequent, you know. I think that's a big one. I think weight is a big sign, you know.
Gain or lose?
Gaining, you know, like women will all of a sudden start to gain weight and they have no idea why, and then they'll undereat and overexercise, and really it's their hormones that are shifting. I think that's a big one. I think there is the mood component, and this is where for all the men and for all the families listening, you know, the mood is huge. Like when our hormones shift, women can get into a very severe anxiety. Like they cry at the drop of a hat. They're having palpitations. Their stress bandwidth literally shrinks. Like you could tell them to go take the garbage out, and all of a sudden that seems to be the biggest chore of the day. Whereas before they were running a meeting and doing all kinds of things. And then some women actually get depressed, you know, excuse me. So there's like a lot of mood kind of symptoms that go with it that then actually disrupt relationships, right? And start to create a lot of tension in the home. And everybody's walking around completely unaware of the physiology and the chemistry that's taking place and labeling people as good or bad or, you know, all this other stuff, you know? So that's a big part to me is like, understand the mood component of it is changing how you're playing out in your life.
We're talking to Dr. Taz, the pioneer of holistic and integrative medicine and founder of Center Spring MD. I did want to ask you about that. I never experienced mood swings, but I had horrible, you know, the night sweats, the day sweats, sleepless nights. What can you do for that?
Well, when we think holistically, there's a really big toolbox. And I think the first place to start if you're having night sweats and hot flashes is to take a good look at your diet. Make sure you're cutting down on sugar, alcohol. Please don't hate me, but alcohol is a big one for triggering hot flashes and night sweats. Actually, too much salt, too. That can trigger hot flashes and night sweats in lots of different women. And if we move out of the diet space and then into just maybe remedies that are non-hormonal, things like evening primrose oil, these are natural remedies that work very well in sort of subduing some of this. Magnesium to help with sleep. I mean, I could go on forever, but there are a lot of like very gentle remedies to start with. And you work on those for a while between diet, having good sleep hygiene, taking one of these things in and seeing if you can bring them down naturally. But after a certain point, I always say sort of my hallmark time is after about 3 to 4 weeks. If this stuff's not working in terms of the modifications you've made, then it's a good idea to have a conversation with your doctor. Do you need some form of hormone replacement therapy? And there's a huge range of different types of hormone replacement therapy and matching it. There's a little bit of an art to that, but that's probably where you need to go next.
What can guys do? Like, besides shut up and hide? Like, what honestly can guys do when this starts happening?
Well, I think the number one thing guys can do is encourage, and my husband did this to me when I was having my health crisis, mine was more in my 20s, is encourage women to go get checked out. I think there's a lot of shame. I think there's a lot of, I'm just going to power through this, it's going to pass. And, you know, as a partner or spouse, you're such a window into what's going on with us that sometimes we can't even see or realize because we're just trying to get through the day. So I think just encouraging someone to get help, you know, in a kind and loving way. Just, hey, something's different. Something's changed. You know, let's get this checked out. I'm there for you. I'm there with you. I'm not judging you. You know, I'm not accusing you of anything. I want you to get the help you need. I think that's the first. I think the second is to try to understand, you know, and be a little bit sympathetic, a little bit supportive when these phases are happening and understand that they're temporary. This is not, you know, a person changing on you. This is a temporary phase and they need a little bit of support.
Dr. Tess, I think you need to develop a 30-day program for men and how to deal with this, Barnes. Loving and, you know, easing into it and understanding. Like, what do you think?
I'm guarantee you there's some dude going, I ain't going to deal with that. And then it's snickering in his car. Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
You know, you will. Just it's a part of life.
Yeah.
Well, the thing not to say, don't ever tell any woman, like, is it that time of the month?
Ooh.
Don't do
stop
that.
it.
Don't do that. Please just don't go. Even if it is, don't go there.
We'll be back. Dr. Taz is here. This is The Morning X. It's 99X.